Taboola, everybody.
If you ever said that in real life, we'd be so embarrassed. Not Bula, but like Bula.
It's Peter McKinnon.
I don't know who that is.
What's up, everybody?
All right. Well, I hate all your like references that.
Who knows what I'm talking about?
Okay. Well.
Anybody watch Peter McKinnon? He's a famous Canadian content maker. Content creator.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I was thinking this week, have you ever considered having more kids?
No. Yes, I've considered it, and it's a bit of no.
I don't.
Yeah.
I think we're both on the same page, but
Yeah.
we have a friend that just told me she's pregnant tonight.
Yeah.
And so I was like, whoa.
So intense. I'm like, I just have a lot of respect for people that have more kids.
So
Like, I think the group of friends that we're in, it's
Yeah.
like we're old, you know? We're getting to the stage.
We're
I
old.
feel like we're in the stage of life where we're kind of like, everybody got married.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of has kids now. And if you have kids, like if our friends now have kids, we're like, whoa, they had more kids.
I know.
Does that make sense?
I know.
And we're kind of in that latter stage.
Yeah, but
It's
a lot of people our age are just starting families. So, like John you're 31 and I'm 33. So we're not actually old. But I was listening to a podcast today that was saying like 36, you're now middle-aged. You're in the middle of your life most possibly. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's true. I'm middle-aged. Like I always thought middle-aged is like 50, but it's not. It's not.
No, most people don't live to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, but I don't know. Okay, so when we had Seva, he's our youngest child.
Okay.
What made you, or what was like the no more?
I think I've just growing up on like the missions field, going all over the world with my parents. It was like one for each hand or one for each parent,
Yeah.
kid wise. And so, and like it just at that time, it felt like the world was made for four, like the airplane seating arrangements, like vehicles, like it just seemed like best set up for four people.
Yeah.
Like traveling, living, the arrangement that you get in like houses or apartments in Africa where we were in Mozambique, it just felt like the world was made for four people. And so I think I just walked into life being like two
Four.
kids.
Well, and I think like if I could have been guaranteed a girl, I would have had another baby. But I didn't want to have another baby to have another baby. And I think like if I had a boy, there would be just like, obviously you love the baby, but I think there'd be a slight disappointment in that. And so I was like, well, I can't choose. And so I don't want to have just a baby to have a baby. I would love to have a baby girl, but I think like that wasn't worth the risk of having three.
Right.
It's not like you wouldn't love another baby if it happened. It would just be like, it's just hard. And I hated pregnancy. I threw up every day.
Yeah,
being
that was
pregnant.
rough.
I looked like a drunk person in a ditch just vomiting my guts out.
Every morning.
Every morning. And
Yeah.
like when I had a leaky the first 3 months, like I vomited every half hour. And it's like one time in front of like a restaurant drive-thru, and I was in the bushes. I was like waiting for an employee of mine, and I was in the bushes just puking my life out. And someone's like, rough night. Like they all thought I was hungover and
I'm
drunk,
pregnant.
just like, I'm like,
It's
you
been
know, I
super
wasn't
rough.
showing yet. I was just like my normal size, and just puking my life out. I just looked like a drunk partier. So, you know, that was maybe not the best.
Yeah.
It's funny in Fiji, like there's so many people our age or older that are still like doing family planning, but I don't think that it's very well thought out. Like a lot of people use the pull-out method, which I don't think is a method, guys. I think John's dying, just doesn't like that. It's okay, honey. It's all part of sex education.
It's true. I don't know. I would describe pulling out like this. Okay. This is
Nobody
not.
asked you for your description of it. Oh,
Okay.
yes, John. Let's hear. Let's
This
hear
is
how
maybe
you.
like too intimate, but like this is what I imagined it to be because I don't practice nor have I practiced
Okay, just to
that-
clarify.
that method of what is it?
Birth,
Contraception?
birth control.
Birth control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like imagine, like like I really love fishing. Say for instance, right? Like imagine like you're fishing. It's a great time. You're out with the boys, and you're telling jokes. The weather's beautiful. No. All right. What?
I don't think the analogy.
No, this analogy is going places. Okay.
All right.
I'm just saying this is what I imagine it to be like because
out with the boys.
never done it.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think you need to get
You're fishing, and it's like you hook onto the fish of a lifetime. All right, and you're fighting this fish. You're like, this is the best, and you're just about to like get it, and then your friend just cuts the line.
Yeah, like
right?
I don't think you should ever use that analogy. Like out with the boys, think like you and your wife might be fishing. I don't know why the analogy was like a bros moment.
I think all of our friends in ministry. Let's
just correct that.
Everybody's just like, no, we don't talk about those kinds of things.
You know what? Actually, let's talk about that. To me, something that's lacking in church.
We're doing sex
let's talk
education.
about it. Let's talk about it. I feel passionately about this. So let's talk about this. I think something that's really lacking in church is like in church, I've heard in Canada, it's probably not that common in Fiji, like men get spoken to where they talk about, struggles with pornography, struggles with, how they view women and all these different things. And then women, we get like destroyed on the fact that like, I don't know, we just get shamed over our bodies and shamed over the fact that like we are men's stumbling blocks. And like, I think like that narrative needs to be switched in churches, not to like, I'm going to shame you for your body. I think we should be taught that we are valued so much that we should honor our bodies instead of going with the shame route. I think like that actually destroys marital sex. I think like as like a conservative or a Christian girl growing up and you're shamed about sex, shame. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. You should cover up. You're making your fellow man stumble. And then all of a sudden when you get married, it's like, you should enjoy sex and be this amazing sex goddess for your husband.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're saying.
And your whole life, you've been told that your body is a shameful thing that makes men stumble and sin. Does not exactly make for this beautiful union. It makes for like a moment of like horrific, I feel like, oh, okay, so I've been told to cover up and not do this my entire life, and all of a sudden I'm supposed to be naked and be totally okay with that? Right. This actually, like, no woman can handle that. So then well, not a lot of women can handle that amount of shame and then go into like have sexual freedom within the confines of marriage. And God meant that to be beautiful. And so I think it takes a while for people then to have like a good sex life. Yeah. Because there is like a barrier. And if you were just taught to respect your body, to be like honoring of yourself and that you are precious instead of like you are being like slut shamed. Right. That would go a lot further for women. I think in the long run, I think marriages may do better. What do you think? How do you feel about that?
I mean,
have you ever?
I always tell you to be my sex goddess. So,
yeah.
That's what I expected from day one.
I'm sure.
You must check the sex goddess box.
Well, I feel like most men do.
Yeah, well,
expect that.
Well, it's like it's kind of like, you know what, like you like Christian girls feeling like really uncomfortable in their bodies because they've felt like somewhat shameful about like feeling sexy or feeling proud of their bodies, whatever God has gifted them with. Like kind of lines up with like most Christian men lasting like 20 seconds on the wedding night. I mean, let's be honest, right? I mean, like, we're not running marathons over here. So it's like, Yeah, but like, no offense. Men are not hard to please, women are.
So I think it's more important that we cater to the people that are harder to please and make it something that's because if
yes and no. I mean, like we're just talking about like just like random theories. Like it's fine. It's fine that neither of us had sexual partners before we got married and we grew into it together.
yeah,
And like it took a long time to learn, but like it's like I'd rather be that way.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Did you orgasm for a long time before I did? Well,
Hello.
doesn't know what to say. Okay, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So why do you as men get to have pleasureful sex for a longer period of time and the woman does not until they learn how to or you learn how to?
Not my problem.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway,
right.
That's just I just think it would be more beneficial to tell women like you are so worthwhile that yes, you should treat your body with modesty because you should not give away something that's so valuable. I think that is important in like discussion and like how to treat your body. And I think like within marriage, I think like that would give you more freedom to be like, it's not that women need to be proud of their body. It's the fact that like shame does not create freedom. Like I remember I wore at camp, I was wearing shorts and a one-piece bathing suit, which is very modest for Canada.
Right.
And I remember a girl telling me, should you be actually wearing that? Do you think you really should wear that? And I remember looking in the mirror being like, yeah, like everybody else is wearing less.
Yeah, I gotta do more reading on this. It's old like stumbling block like scripture that I feel like is very, very hard to actually like live out consistently in your life. Like to not be one. You know, or like whether that's, you know, having alcohol around people who struggle with alcoholism, or because at any time you could be in a stumbling block for somebody.
Yeah.
Without knowing about it. But I guess that piece of scripture
I think it
refers more to like, it speaks to like knowingly.
If you know someone has an alcohol problem, you don't drink.
So like, okay, if you know that guys are like very visually orientated, would it not make more sense to then dress down a little bit? And
I'm not saying that women shouldn't cover their bodies. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the motivation behind that should change. It should not be you do this because you make men sin and you are making them sin in sexual immorality.
Like it'd be like honor yourself?
It should be you are so valuable. Treat yourself with respect and value your body more than anything else, so they also value your body. Like treat yourself with a high priority because you are very precious. Instead of saying...
And you don't think that most
Christian
girls are like that?
Never, ever, ever once in church heard that narrative. In any church I've ever been to. It has always been my experience, personally, that it's you need to do this, otherwise you are making other people sin. You are a stumbling block for men. Not that like, wow, you are beautiful, God created you. You should value yourself. You know, and I heard that from my mother, but I heard that from nobody else.
Right.
There was never what was in church, what was at Bible camp, what was in youth group. It was just like, you're not modest enough. You might make someone sin. It was like, ooh, okay, well, that's a lot of responsibility. And like, you kind of look too like slutty. Like you're kind of like being sexual. It's like, oh, okay. I think like that's not the message that young women should hear. And I think it will serve them better in the long run with like relationships if they have like a high standard for themselves. When a young guy in high school is like propositioning them and like, oh, you're beautiful and blah, blah, they'll feel so much more self-worth that they can reject that low proposal because they're like, well, actually I'm worth way more than that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, not like, oh, I finally attracted somebody. You know, and like I felt so shamed. Yeah, you have in your whole life.
Right. Yeah.
But like I've been so shamed over my body and finally someone sees value in me.
Yeah.
That's a very different story.
Yeah.
And I think like, oh, someone finally sees value in me. Of course I'll give this person myself.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I am so, like, I'm a big deal in the sense of like, my body's so important. Don't even pretend like you are important enough to just get it for free. You're right. I think that's like, for me, that's a big narrative that women need to hear. And especially like young women. And I don't think, why is there shame in sex? Like, sex is something that God gave to us in a marital context. And he said it would be beautiful. So I think, like, for me, I don't feel shame about speaking about it or anything. Like, I think
I think the reason why people feel sensitive about it, especially people like me or like us in like the Christian circles, I guess, or religious circles, whatever you want to say, even though I hate being defined as like a religious person, is that there is a stigma about remaining pure until you get married.
Yeah. But like pure, I think people have that confused. Like, what is pure and what is good? Good is what God is saying is beautiful and blessed. And God has said that sex and marriage is blessed and beautiful.
Yeah, but the fact that like sex is for the confines of marriage, makes it hard to talk about it outside because it's like default a very private thing for people.
Yeah, but
right?
it shouldn't have to be. I think it's something that should be celebrated in the sense of like, hey guys.
Yeah, but some things need to stay in the bedroom.
For sure, but like, well, you don't need to go all in, but I think it needs to be like, hey, like, be excited about this. This is something that eventually, when you get married, you get to experience. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And value yourself and like look at your virginity as a gift to your spouse. And if you haven't saved yourself for marriage, like, you know, that takes away from that gift. But you can also start again with somebody and view that as like a new beginning and a new start with them and like keep that special between you because that grows like a deep bond. There's actually like scientific studies that say like people that are monogamous in their brain, when they look at the brain waves, like they get deep grooves in like this sexual, like the wave of like sexuality and like their intimacy levels. They get like a deep line, like a wavelength, and goes deeper and deeper the more they stick with one monogamous partner. And then when you have multiple partners, it's like a shallow brainwave.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it's just showing like connection depth. And I think that's really interesting. Like you're giving away like a shallow piece of yourself, or you're building like a deep connection with somebody over and over and over again, and you're building that intimacy with somebody, and that's what God wanted for us.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, speaking of monogamous, I went to a swingers party once.
Yeah.
That was weird.
We definitely did.
Yeah, we ended up there by accident.
We're not swingers at all, trust me.
No.
That would
I like
be weird.
swings, like I like swing sets and stuff. Especially when I was a kid, but not into sharing my wife with people.
So what happened is we still have a cleaning business in Canada. And one of our clients was like really nice couple, really chatty. You know, there's like a few little things about them. Like they were very huggy and touchy-feely, but I just kind of like...
They're super friendly.
They were really friendly, and I just kind of like cracked it down to like, they're just that kind of couple. Like they're just a little bit familiar, and I'm like...
They had stacks of upside-down pineapples outside their door.
No, they did not. They did not. But anyway, they threw these really cool house parties. And John and I had a hard set rule that we'd leave by like 10:30, 11, no later, because we worked for them. Yeah. And so we didn't want to cross that line of like, you know, be there too late. We didn't want to see anything uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because nothing good happens after a certain hour at night.
Yeah, and it was always like really fun. Like they always had a DJ and sometimes a chef
we'd been invited for a long time. Invited, never went. Yeah. And then they invited us. We're like, okay,
let's go. Probably go. Yeah. Like it'd be fun. And they always threw like really cool parties. Like they'd have like blank T-shirts with all this like crafting stuff, and you could make your own T-shirt. And
that's the one party we went to, by the way.
No, we went to two. We went to two of theirs without knowing what was happening. First one was a t-shirt party, and I think the second one was like a onesie Christmas party.
Yeah. Yeah, it was their Christmas party.
Yeah, so the first time we went, there was like a few things that were like kind of off, but we left I think at 10, and we were like, all right, whatever. The next morning,
but the town where we come from, like there's a lot of drugs. Like people do drugs outside of
yeah.
They don't necessarily have to do drugs at the party. They might do drugs somewhere else and just come to the party drugged out.
Yeah.
Like there's just drugs everywhere. So it's not like it wouldn't be abnormal to be like over around. Like that's why when you're saying like things were like maybe a bit off.
Like, yeah, like I remember we were like at the party and people are dancing and we'd see like some people like by the time we were about to leave like kind of going up the stairs and like coming down the stairs like a little like bright-eyed.
Yeah.
Like big grins like you're like okay, that's weird. And then we left early, so that was fine. And then the second time we went, in Canada we have really strict drinking and driving rules, and John and I are pretty careful with that. It's not something we're interested in doing, and so we asked a friend of ours to pick us up, and then something happened and he couldn't pick us up, and I had like a couple glasses of wine or something. We had two. We're still like working. Like I felt like it was a work event, so we were pretty careful. And we're not like huge drinkers anyway. I could have like 3, but I had 2, and I had said it's okay if he doesn't come. Like if we wait an hour, I'm still fine to drive. Like I think we were there for like 4 hours, and I had 2 glasses of wine.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to have any legal issues driving home. So we'll wait an hour. And then everything just kind of turned weird. Like, I don't know if I want to go into detail, but anyway, and then someone came up to us and was like, are you a part of it? And
Part
then,
of what?
and we were kind of still like, there was some really weird, creepy things happening at the party, like make-out contests and different things.
Oh, yeah, right.
That we were like, okay. So we went and sat on the front step, like, can we get out of here? And I was like, okay, just give it like 20 more minutes and then I'm fine. Like we're just still trying to be like very cautious with our driving, but we're like sitting out the front. It's snowing. It's cold. We're like, okay, we just love to leave. And the next week, one of our friends came up to us like, oh yeah, they're definitely swingers. They invited us back to their place last week to swing. And I was like,
not on swings.
I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was so embarrassed because we knew other people there. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Everybody thinks that John and I are swingers. And I died. Like I was like, I kind of wanted to like message people and be like, but then at the same time I was like, wait, are they swingers?
Oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
There was a couple at our church.
Yeah.
That was there, and I was like, I don't know if they.
Because that was Saturday, and then I saw them the next morning at worship team. I'm like, hey.
Well, and I was like, are they innocent bystanders?
Yeah.
Like we are.
They could have been. Because he works in the professional business realm, so it definitely could have been.
Or are they a part of it? And then when someone had said, "Are you a part of it?" we were like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, like, that's when we clued in.
It's like, I'm glad we never stayed too late.
Oh my gosh! I tried to kiss you on the lips.
Oh, okay, yeah. So John walked into the house when we got to like the first time we went to their party. The hostess, the lady of the house, came up to John and tried to like give him a good smooch, and John like moved his face like in panic, and she kissed him on the cheek, and she was like, I was standing right with him, and she was like, oh my goodness, I tried to kiss you on the mouth, and
she was like, oh my gosh, that was so awkward. Like I tried to kiss you on the lips, and you like turned your face, and like I kissed you on the cheek. I'm like, yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
John. Like, and it was so funny to me.
Nobody's kissing me on the lips.
Because John was having like a mental breakdown, and I was just laughing at him.
So
like,
awkward.
Well, and they're also just kind of like that like overly friendly couple that I was kind of
very huggy.
That I was kind of like, she's kind of drunk. Like maybe she just was like, I don't know, just being like overly friendly. I think maybe I'm a little naive. Like obviously, maybe we both are. Like just
gotta go to more swingers parties, babe.
Yeah, I will say the gentleman of the house, when I was working for them, I was cleaning after the parties that we'd been to. And then one morning, I was kind of having like an off morning, like little gray, like not having my best day, not the best vibe. And he came up behind me and gave me like a hug from behind and kissed me on my neck.
Dude.
And
Dude. It's too far.
I was like,
hey.
And then after like, I think a month after that, we were kind of like, I don't think we can work for them anymore.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't send staff there. And I was filling in for all the staff there just to make sure nothing like went wrong, because I'm very protective of my staff at home. And I was kind of like, I can deal with like the situation. But I remember just like having like a complete freak out, like just in the sense of
well,
like,
I was cleaning there once and then he kissed me on the neck. Just kidding.
What would you do?
What'd I do?
Yeah, what would you do if that happened?
Open hand slap. Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, no. I would strangle him.
I just froze. Like, I always thought I'd, like, you know how you always predict that you'll have, like, this big reaction, or you'll run away from something, or you'll, like, do something? I just completely just was, like, frog in my throat. Like, I was like...
Just look deep into his empty eyes.
No, I just was washing dishes. I was caught. I couldn't run away. I had soapy hands, and I was just like, what the frick just happened? Like, well, that was
Dude,
so
that's
creepy.
Too many details. I was just there, stand with my soapy hands. It's like, what?
I didn't know what to do. Well, I've had a lot of weird experiences at work, so I think I've just been like, I don't know, maybe just immune to it. Like, a couple times, we've had a lot of cleaning people's houses. I'm going to say you get to see a lot about their personal lives. Like I've seen people's, if we're on the topic of sex.
We're not allowed to talk about that.
This is tonight's topic. I've seen.
You know it's illegal in Fiji, right?
Oh yeah, sex toys are illegal here,
Yeah.
which is crazy. Oh well, that's everywhere in people's homes, and they don't seem to hide it. And one time, one of my staff called me, and they were like, "So, whatever his name is, not going to name names. He's got like
It could be him or her.
a swing up."
Yeah.
And some interesting photos out. And I
We had a swing.
hit a swing, a
Sheesh.
sex swing out.
Nice.
And I had to call the client and tell him, like, I'm sorry the cleaner left because you have left your inappropriate personal items out. And next time we come to
Jeez.
clean, like, you're going to have to pay for the bill. But next time we come to clean, can you please make sure that your private
Dirty.
stuff is put away?
Oh, I know what apartment that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, making the phone call and being very professional about it.
Yeah.
And trying to, like, not laugh and be like a child or squirm or, like, just trying to get through, like, yeah, okay. Oh, and he was just very like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. Didn't think about it. And I was like, okay, great to know. And next time, don't do it again. So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
So we've had a lot of, I think when you get to go into people's homes and their private business, you get to see things that, are unexpected. Like I've walked in on a client that was like sleep apnea mask, buck naked.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, oh, open the door and then shut the door and pretended like I never saw that. I just moved on. I was like, we don't need to talk about this ever. Let's never acknowledge that happened because I'm mortified and I would
He was like naked Norwegian Darth Vader.
Exactly.
Ass up.
Yeah. And I was just happy that it was me. I was happy it was me and not my staff. I was like, actually, I think I just have bad luck. My staff never report these kind of stories to me. Like 90% of the stories are mine. I've done all the worst things. I broke in a whole glass shower.
Oh, yeah.
I was cleaning a new place, old client, new house, and I was washing their glass shower, and the entire thing exploded on me. I had glass all over my head. I had glass all over the bathroom, and I was just standing there. I was sobbing. I was just like
traumatized.
I was worried because, like, financially, like, we were doing okay, but, like, to pay for a whole new bathroom shower, I was kind of like, John's gonna kill me. And it was the first time cleaning there, and I was just thinking, I'm gonna lose this client and I'm gonna have to pay this like $2,000 bill. And I was just crying for like a half hour trying to like sweep it up. And they weren't home. I was calling the client. And I was just like, I just cleaned it up, finished cleaning the bathroom. And then I got a hold of them, I think the next day or something. And they were really great about it.
Super chill.
They were like, no offense, but better you than our grandchildren. Like, as long as you're not hurt. And like, don't worry about it. So I was like,
dude, look at my toe.
Where?
The one by my pinky toe.
You have the ugliest toes anyway, so I don't know what's going on.
Gosh,
I can't see.
You can't see how red it is?
Nope. Oh, it's like, maybe.
Like separated the nail off of the toe.
Ew.
I smashed it in the dark after I was like...
Tonight?
Yeah, when I was coming back with the tractor.
No. You need to see Aliki's finger. Like right in here, like where the cuticle is.
Yeah.
It's disconnected.
Oh, he just hit it really hard.
I don't know. He showed me tonight. He's like, oh, it's been like that for a while. I'm like, dude, you need to show me every cut, every scratch. Like, it's just an infection, like, mess. I don't know. We've just dealt with, he had a huge blister on his foot that I think he had something in his heel. And then it was a huge blister and it popped. And then it was all black and pussy in there. We've had like a week of, no, actually like 2 weeks of sickness. The boys missed 2 weeks.
It's been a rough couple weeks.
Yeah.
In a lot of aspects. But we're doing good.
Yeah.
We're doing good.
Actually,
I was supposed to go fishing tomorrow.
Oh, I know.
It got canceled.
Well, it's been pouring rain.
Yeah, of course. We went and watered on the farm today. Every time we water.
Every time you water, it rains.
Yeah, like there's other days that looks the same. And the humidity wasn't even that high today, was it? Like, did you find it? No.
It was actually nice.
Yeah. It was
And I
beautiful
walked
day.
to town and I walked back. And normally if the humidity's high, like that's when I actually sweat.
Yeah.
Didn't sweat today.
See?
Takes a lot for me to sweat. So even
poured.
in Fiji with the high humidity, I still just like perspire.
Like last 2 hours, like an hour ago it ended. It was pouring.
Yeah. We weren't sure we were going to do the podcast tonight.
Yeah.
So I know.
What do you got there?
I feel sad for you. Oh, no. Actually, I was going to say something about what's coming up in the next little while. John and I are talking about, Fresh Tea and Coffee in Senganga. This is one of the hardships that we've been discussing this week, is that like we don't feel like we have a big enough clientele coming through Senganga. So something that we've decided just today that we're going to try out.
We're going to talk about this.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Jeez.
Is we're going to sell slices of pizza at the bus stop. And I think it's like one of those like interesting ideas that like could really pan out or could really bomb. But I'm hoping it's a big fix for the shop. Like Senganga is a terrible place to do business.
Yeah.
It's not an ideal hub. Like if we went to a bigger city center, we do really well.
Yeah.
John,
it's a pass through, and we actually get a lot of support from people that go through town.
A lot of people that
but
drive by.
no support from our community.
Yeah, the community is not supportive, and we really need that.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, maybe the bus is kind of the answer to like, we just need a little bit more volume.
Yeah, so like the problem is a lot of you guys listening either live probably overseas or you live in Viti Levu. Mm-hmm. Probably a few of you live in Vanuatu and you probably come to the shop. And for those of you who live in Viti Levu who have come to Vanuatu, which is the Northern Island, you probably come to our shop.
And thank you.
Yeah. But we are having trouble getting people to us.
Like locally.
Yeah, so into our store, into our doors. So products there, it's good. We need to get more volume out. And the best way to do that, if people aren't coming to us, is to take the product to them or to you.
And we keep looking at how many buses go by and how much is being sold. And we're like, you know what? I bet that could be the solution to our problem. Like, I don't know why it's not an easy thing to do. Like, it wasn't even easy for me to ask our staff to do it. Our manager said, she's like, I can do it. Totally.
You're going to go with her.
I'm going to go with her.
You have to vlog this, T.
I'm just going to be like the background support because she said, yeah, we just need the lady with the purple hair. And so I was like, okay, I'll be your mascot in the back. Just
like we always say, this podcast is brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee, which is in Senganga, which is like halfway point on the island, I guess, if you want to describe it. So the buses are going through town around the island every day.
Yeah.
And they stop in Sanganga, and everybody who comes through on the bus, like even when I go through Sanganga, I'm like, that's a place where the bus is going to stop and people are going to bring snacks.
Yeah.
So it's like the halfway pit
Let's
stop.
eat.
And you can get like, people will walk, you're sitting in the bus, you open the window, and people just walk around the bus with snacks. You just pay cash.
Yeah.
So it's like our slices are just ready to go. So why don't we make a dozen, take them to the bus?
And we'll put the sauce on the side.
So there's at least 30 people on every bus that goes through town.
Yeah.
And there's a bus every 15 minutes at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that'd be like 120 people an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So times 8, you're talking about like 1,000 people. You're getting like 1,000 more sets of eyes on your product, which is insane. That is insane.
I know. And Sanganga is such a small community. And so and I think one thing that people are just, it's difficult to get them in the door within like the local community. Like, I don't want to move to Mombasa. That's an option that we have, taking the store and shifting it to a bigger city center to make more money. But the thing that I keep holding out for is like, I see such like a really beautiful community moment that people are getting together, like fathers and sons are having tea and coffee together and just chatting, and like families are having nice times together. We have a lady that's a Muslim lady that comes and reads her, like one of our staff's Bible there, which is every day, which is so cool. And our staff are doing like a Bible study there, and like there's so many beautiful things at the coffee shop that is more than like financial benefit. And so I'm like, I just want it to keep thriving. But like, as we always say, like John and I are not the most wealthy people. So we need to be just like doing a little bit better, because we need to make a few improvements at the store, but we can't afford it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what's concerning for me.
Yeah.
So we just need a little more volume, which like the traffic through town is great. But if we had the local support, I think we'd do really well. So if we can get the buses, that's kind of what we're going, okay, this may be our big move. We had this in our business in Canada. We had a moment where John had to sit down and go, okay, do we shut it down? Do we make big adjustments? Or like, what is the move here? Because we're not making enough money.
Yeah.
And we had to restructure the whole company. And then it ran for it's still running and making us money. And so like that huge restructure did something huge for us. And so maybe like,
it's just a matter of being able to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
I think this is where like a good business consultant or coach, I guess, would come into play. But I think like for us, say for instance, like we've had a lot of years now in business. So I don't know, I feel like we're able to ask the right questions. Maybe we'd just ask them sooner if we had more help or mentorship.
Well, I was talking to our manager today, and I was just saying, like, look, like, we were talking about the financial state of the business, and I was saying, like, it could be better. And, we were talking through, and I was saying, Mombasa could be an option for us if we can't get the business to the point we need it to be or want it to be. And she was asking me, so what's the holdup for you? Are you embarrassed? Or, like, do you feel like there's a failure in moving? Or, like, and we were just talking about it, and I was going, like, no, I don't think I ever feel like it's a failure. I feel like it's already been a success. I think I just really value what it does for the community and, like, employing the staff that we have.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it's just so hard for me to, like, want to just rip it up and put it in Mombasa, because Mombasa already has a lot of business, whereas Sanganga doesn't. And I just, like, so deeply want Sanganga to just, like, just take a little step up. I want it to do just, like, that much better, just for the community's sake. And, like, I love advertising Sanganga. Yeah. I just have, like, this, like, weird little, like, passion for it.
So if you're listening to this, please come in. Well, I'll say this. If you're listening to this, every single coffee, every single sticky bun, every piece of pizza helps our small business. And we sincerely like appreciate it. And I say this to you guys when I do get to meet you and you come in, it really does make a difference for our small business.
Yeah.
And
it's true.
we will move it out of Sanganga if we have to. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to bury myself here. But the reason I think we haven't done it is because Lambasa is kind of mediocre, and Suva, I know that we destroy in Suva because that's where most of our market presence is.
Yeah.
Even though there is other competition, I just think we kind of have like
I
a different.
think we do
We just have a different
demographic.
There. And we don't. I love what other people do. I love Mana Coffee. I love what they do. You know, like everybody has their own demographic. That's all. We just come in into a different scene, like a different demo.
Yeah.
So, but everything helps.
Yeah, and I just want it to work in Sanganga so badly. It's the most difficult. I love how, like, I don't love it actually, but at the same time, I like the challenge of starting in a place that's difficult. It is a place that's small, and I always think, like, okay, if we can make it here, we can really make it anywhere, because this is the most difficult place in... It feels like, to me, all of Fiji to make it work, because we're not even a town. So, and yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I'm curious about. Anyway, I feel like this plays into... I had a question. I was pulling out cards. I was going to start our podcast with this, but then I started it off with babies and sex. And then all of a sudden, food kind of comes into it. So I feel like this was a question that I had. We can do another question later, but I just thought this was fun. It says, rate each other's cooking skills on a scale of 1 to 10. Compare and explain.
I think your skills are probably... Yeah, probably a 10 out of 10, I'd say.
Oh, well, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I like everything, most of the things you make.
Oh, I know the one thing he doesn't like, or two things. I have made a Mexican dish that is like a chocolate tomato chicken.
Oh, yeah.
You
weird.
hated that.
That was weird.
It was too weird for you.
Yeah.
It was like too much of a exploratory dish.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah.
And then I think if I use like too much Cajun spice, like the burnt flavor, you don't like that either. But anyway,
How about me?
I was gonna say, like, okay, I need your rating for when we first got married, and then to now.
Okay.
So I feel like
I'll give you a 9 out of 10 actually.
Wow. Like,
no, because of the way you're approaching the answer to your question, it's a 9. It's an honest 9. 8.5. 8.5 to 9.
Let's just go with a humble 7, and then we'll call it.
No, I'll give you 8.5.
Such a jerk.
No, just answer.
I was actually gonna pay you a compliment in the fact that when we got married, your cooking was at like a 3, only for like competency because you knew how to like cook curry. Yeah.
You're making mean curry.
Yeah. And then I would say now I would view your cooking at like a solid 8, which I feel like is good. If I had to rate your baking, I will give you a 10 out of 10. So, you're welcome.
So fair.
I would say your baking is really good. If you guys want, like, okay, in the village, they'll always be like, women have to bake a cake or like whatever. It's never me, guys.
No,
if you
get
a cake from our house, typically John, because I am not the baker. Because I get too distracted. Like when I'm doing like recipes, I have to follow the instructions. I have this weird like reading issue that when I read, like I skip read. So I'll like read and then I like skip a section and I have to typically go back. Like I've taught myself to like triple read information because I go skip and then I go wait, read it again, try to get the whole thing. And so baking is very specific. And if you skip over whatever ingredient you need, you're screwing it up. And so when I'm baking, it's stressful to me because I skip read. So I have to read it like 5 or 6, 7 times to make sure I have all the ingredients. And then half the time I screw it up. So I've done really good. Like nobody's ever noticed this about me that I skip read. I've just diagnosed that I do that because I used to. I love reading. I've read probably hundreds of novels. Actually, read them, not audiobooks. I now listen to audiobooks. When I was young,
many leather-bound books.
I've read a lot.
Very important person.
No, I just missed half the plot. I didn't know what was happening, so I had to go back and reread it. It would take me hours to read a book because I'd have to be like, "Wait, what happened?"
Right.
Do it again. Do it again. So John is the master baker because his mom's so good at baking.
Never ever call me that again, please.
A master baker?
Yeah. I don't know.
John's the bun master.
And on that note, everybody.
We're ending the podcast already?
Huh?
All right. Have a good night. Again, between Sav Sav and Lambasa, stop in at Fresh Steam Coffee. We've got pizza. We've got 3 different types. We've got sticky buns, and we've got lattes, iced coffees. Iced smoke is probably our most popular. They're made in a Canadian style. And I think we've got currently the best prices in Fiji. So.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
All right. So, again,
Bula, everybody.
Mole.
Jesus loves you. Talk to you next time.
Okay, good night.
Peace.